Hello and welcome to another trade idea for this week. So for this week, I decided to go through the Bitcoin versus US dollar since I see the potential for the further downside movement short term on this market. And I will go for explanation why I'm thinking like that and provide you with potential protective, let's say protective stops and potential objectives on this particular trade idea. So let's start with the daily time frame. As we can see here, we have a daily time frame, and market Bollinger Bands are expanding, so we have increased volatility on the Bitcoin. And what we had in the background was a downside breakout to the lower Bollinger Band and then a classical retest of the middle Bollinger Band, so more like a correction. I can see here that fast line is sloping to the downside, slow line is sloping to the upside, but so far we had a rejection of the middle Bollinger Band. And what is important here is we go to the hourly time frame. We have a contraction that is starting in this point, and we have a clean downside break yesterday of the lower Bollinger Band. So this is not something like that we had it like here or just a test reject like here. We had downside, consistent downside move and a very good contraction at this point. So we didn't have like this bigger reaction on so we have downside move, consistency in this downside move, and a very tight contraction at this point. So after period of the consolidation at this point, from my perspective, there will be a chance for a further downside movement. And now the downside objectives. So downside objective, I will say the first downside objective is, of course, the support around 58,000, let's say 59,000 mark. But we can also see this area here, the previous swing highs, and from this consolidation around the I will say a 53,000 mark. So that will be like a bigger downside objective. Short-term downside objective around 59,000. Secondary downside objective around 53,000 mark. In terms of the protective stop, if we take a look at the daily time frame, we can see that we had this 3-day high around 67,000, let's say 67,300 mark. So as you can see, there is at least 2 times bigger profit versus initial risk, just for the initial first potential target, and there is a much bigger reward versus initial risk on the secondary target around 53,000 mark. So it is a good risk to reward trade idea, and again, a protective stop, and from my view, like around 67,350 mark, with objectives at 59,000 and 53,000 mark on the Bitcoin versus US dollar. So if you didn't visit our website, you can do that. So you can go to the fxcentrum.com. You can also access and unlock our webinar, so you can watch and understand more.